Ladies and gentlemen, the seminar is about to start. Please be seated.
装置转至静音模式。Ladies and gentlemen, the seminar is about to begin. Please take a seat and please make sure your mobile phone and any other audible devices are set to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. 再次提醒大家，如果希望向宣讲团成员提出问题，可以先把问题写在提问纸上，然后交给我们的工作人员。谢谢。If you wish to raise a question to the delegation about the spirit of the 20th National Congress, please write down your question on the question paper inside the folder and pass it to our staff as soon as possible. Thank you for your cooperation. 各位来宾，
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Let us welcome the guests into the hall with a big hand.
欢迎这么多位。
Welcome. Please take your seat. The seminar now begins. Welcome to the seminar organized by the Hong Kong SL government to promote the spirit of the 20th National Congress. I'm Guo Tianzhun, your MC. In order to enhance Hong Kong people's understanding of the spirit of the 20th National Congress, the SL government has invited the central government to send a publicity delegation to Hong Kong to promote the spirit of the 20th National Congress. We're very honored to have the publicity delegation here today. The delegation includes Mr. Shen Chun-yao, Chairman of the Legislative Affairs Commission of NPCSC. Mr. Xie Fuzhan, Vice Chairman, Commission of Economic Affairs of NPCSC. Mr. Yang Wanming, Deputy Director of Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. And of course, we're honored to have Mr. Lo Huining, Director of Liaison Office of the CPG in Hong Kong with us, as well as Mr. Chen Tong, Deputy Director. Ms. Lu Xinling, Deputy Director, and Mr. Huang Songmiao, Secretary General of the Liaison Office of the Central Committee. Welcome all to the seminar. I will first invite the chair of the seminar, Mr. John Lee, Chief Executive of the Hong Kong SAR, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Mr. Lee. Honorable Mr. Shen, Mr. Xie, Mr. Law, Mr. Yang, Mr. Chen, Ms. Liu, members of the publicity delegation, ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens of Hong Kong, good afternoon. Welcome to the seminar organized by the Hong Kong SL government to promote the spirit of the 20th National Congress. First and foremost, I must thank the central government for its support. At the request of the Hong Kong SAR government, the central government has sent a high-level publicity delegation to Hong Kong with two important ministers, namely Mr. Sun Chen-yao, Chairman of the Legislative Affairs Commission, as well as Mr. Xie Fuzhan, Vice Chairman of the Economic Affairs Committee, to promote the spirit of the 20th National Congress to us. In fact, we have already organized a number of seminars since the 20th National Congress. We have two heavyweights here to express to us the new strategies, the new ideas, and this new journey. They are very conversant in all these matters. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to benefit from their insightful presentations so that we can have a deeper understanding and knowledge of the spirit of the 20th National Congress. We look forward to their enlightening speeches. I would also like to thank members from different sectors who are present today. They're all patriots, and we have local delegates to the National People's Congress, members of CPPCC, and representatives from major political groups and societies, from the business sector, from professional sectors, education and media, and also youth groups, and also members of the public watching this seminar live. I am so encouraged by the enthusiasm displayed by you all. The 20th National Congress was successfully held in Beijing last month. It marked the embarkation by Chinese people on a new journey to build China into a modern socialist country in all respects and advance towards its second centenary goal, as well as the advancement of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on all fronts. The 20th National Congress report gave a thorough review of the great changes and glorious achievement of the country in the first decade of the new era. The 20th NC spirit has great bearing on the future development of Hong Kong and the country, and also the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, the stable and sustained implementation of one country, two systems, as well as the long-term stability of Hong Kong. And Presidency in the report once again stressed that one country, two system is a major innovation and is the best policy for ensuring prosperity and stability in Hong Kong, and therefore we must adhere to this good policy. We have encountered various challenges since the handover, including the Asia financial turmoil and also the Asia financial crisis, as well as the SARS pandemic. And every time, with the support of the central People's government, we were able to overcome these challenges and maintain our strengths and continue with our economic development. In the coming 5 years, we are going to open a new chapter, and we are at a critical juncture. The world situation is complex and ever-changing, and Hong Kong also faces challenges. However, we must have the overall picture in mind and enhance our competitiveness and have a proper understanding of the spirit of the 20th National Congress. It will help Hong Kong's one country, two systems to sail wide and far and will contribute to the overall development of country. Now, you are leaders from different sectors of the community. You're both patriotic and have love for the city. I'm sure you will be important pillars of economic and social development of Hong Kong. We must strengthen our patriotic forces so that together we can contribute to the rejuvenation of the great Chinese nation. Now, I have 3 expectations for you. First, we must have a deep understanding of the spirit of the 20th National Congress, in particular the important discourse on one country, two systems. From an overall and strategic perspective, the report gave a thorough review of the historic achievement and importance of one country, two systems, and in a systematic and scientific manner, it elaborated on the new ideas, new thoughts, new strategies, and the grand blueprint for upholding and improving one country, two systems. To adhere to this good system in the long run, we must have an accurate grasp of the essence of one country, two systems in the new era, and must underpin it with full and faithful implementation. You are leaders in different sectors of Hong Kong. I very much hope that through your promotion, we can pass on this enthusiasm to learn the spirit of the 20th National Congress to the different sectors and strata you represent. And then, in disseminating this message, you can also continue to do your part in your respective positions to promote innovation, improve livelihood, develop the economy so that we can contribute to the historic achievements of the country so that we can map a new chapter for Hong Kong. Once again, I'd like to thank the great support shown by the Central People's Government as well as the delegation for taking trouble to Hong Kong. I hope we can all cherish this invaluable opportunity to learn the spirit. Thank you.
We thank the Chief Executive for his speech. The Chief Executive will have a seat among the audience. Now, we will hear from Mr. Luo Huining, the Director of the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong. We will hear from Mr. Luo. Mr. Shen, Mr. Xie, Mr. Yang, Mr. John Lee, guests, as well as members of the public watching the live cast. Good afternoon, everyone. In Hong Kong, there is unprecedented enthusiasm to embrace the spirit of the 20th Party Congress. The publicity delegation has made this trip to Hong Kong. This goes to show that with President Xi Jinping as the core of the Party Central Committee, They attach immense importance to the city's one country, two systems, as well as the care they show for the SAR. Since the closing of the 20th Party Congress, the SAR government, legislative bodies, as well as various sectors of the community have never stopped in organizing study sessions. They have compared notes in insight, shared their thoughts, and planned for actions. They have demonstrated great initiative with a wide reach, with wide influence. This is unprecedented since the handover of Hong Kong. Today, the publicity delegation will offer an authoritative discussion. This will help the Hong Kong community to further deepen their understanding and grasp of the spirit of the 20th Party Congress. This session will help the community learn and implement the spirit of the 20th Party Congress with deeper understanding of the spirit. I hope that various sectors of the Hong Kong community can take this opportunity to continue their understanding and implementation on all fronts of the spirit in promoting the realization of the spirit of the 20th Party Congress in Hong Kong. In studying the spirit of the 20th Party Congress, we should also combine it with the spirit of President Xi Jinping's important speech on July 1st. We should make use of this session to deepen our understanding of the ideas, the key perspectives, the key strategies, and key measures in the 20th Party Congress, so that we can have a full, faithful, and unswerving implementation of one country, two systems. That becomes a basis for us to give our full support to Chief Executive Mr. John Lee's government in their governance and bring together all the productive forces in developing Hong Kong and contributing to our country's new journey and seize new opportunities. And we strengthen our confidence in our historic initiative in this regard. And also write the new chapter for our city from stability to prosperity. Thank you. We thank the director, Mr. Luo. He will have a seat among the audience. We will now hear from Mr. Yang Wanmin, Deputy Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council. Mr. Yang, please. Chief Executive, Mr. Luo, Mr. Shen, Mr. Xie, friends from various sectors of Hong Kong, good afternoon, everyone. Upon the request of the Hong Kong SAR, the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office has invited Mr. Shen Chunyao, the chairperson of the Legislative Affairs Commission of the MPCSC, as well as Mr. Xie Fuzhan, Vice Chairman of the Committee on Economic Affairs of the National Committee of the CPPCC, to Hong Kong. They will expound on the spirit of the 20th Party Congress. This is a special arrangement. It goes to show the importance the central government attaches to Hong Kong. Director Mr. Xia Baolong sets great store by this session. Before they made a trip, Mr. Xia discussed with them how to help Hong Kong understand the spirit of the 20th Party Congress. And he would like us to take this opportunity to send his greetings to everyone. We are pleased to see that the community in Hong Kong also attaches great importance to the 20th Party Congress and embraces the spirit of the 20th Party Congress. Some said that they got a better sense on three things. First, firm leadership and scientific leadership that gives some greater certainty over the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. And then the leadership offered by the Communist Party of China, uniting everyone, as well as over the course of socialist development and the development of the Chinese nation, the party has achieved monumental achievement and achieved great transformations. With the leadership of President Xi Jinping, as well as Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, experience shows that General Secretary Mr. Xi is the core of the party, the leader of the people, the exemplary of the army, and the helmsman of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese people. Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for the new era is effective when it comes to implementation and offering guidance. They will point a new way ahead and also the greatest source of certainty in the face of uncertainties. The second point here is that we should recognize the patterns that will ensure certainty for the long-term success of one country, two systems. The 20th Party Congress report devoted great passage to Hong Kong and Macau. There has never been greater weight attached to the one country, two systems. This is for the long-term stability and prosperity of the two SARs. The report summarizes the historic achievement of one country, two systems in the SARs, as well as the new ideas, new thinking, new strategy for improving the relevant institutions. It also lays out a plan for taking one country, two systems to the next level. The report also specifically mentions that we should stick to one country, two systems. We need to fully, faithfully, and unswervingly implement one country, two systems. And we should also implement the overall jurisdiction of the central people's government. We need to have patriots administering Hong Kong, stick to the overall jurisdiction of the central government, and also maintain a high level of autonomy of the SAR. These are the features of the leadership of the CPC. With these ideas, we will be able to see greater stability and greater results with one country, two systems. The third point, leveraging Hong Kong's advantages. There will be greater certainty also in this regard. Since the important speech of President Xi on July 1st, the 20th Party Congress report also highlights a need to leverage Hong Kong's advantages and consolidate Hong Kong's edge in international finance, trade, innovation, and technology, as well as other areas. There's a need for greater exchange between Hong Kong and other places near it. Closer cooperation between Hong Kong and other places, connectivity with the rest of the world, is an advantage of Hong Kong. There's a great business environment here with rule of law recognized by many. There's capital, there is talent in Hong Kong. It's also a place where the East meets the West. And we have a sound legal system here. These are the essential ingredients for Hong Kong's success. Last month, Hong Kong successfully held the Global Financial Leaders Summit. This showed that the international community were bullish on Hong Kong as well. With the governing team of Chief Executive Mr. John Lee, a result-oriented team, they are ready to deliver results. There's a new atmosphere. In the face of the complex developments, especially in matters of national security and resolving the deep-seated livelihood issues, the SAR government has stuck to the formula of one country, two systems, law-based governance, and demonstrated commitment, and demonstrated that it is the one shouldering the primary responsibility and in the driver's seat. As long as Hong Kong keeps working hard and remains steadfast, Hong Kong will be able to integrate into the national development and serve the country's need and deliver ever greater results. Hong Kong will be able to contribute to the development of the country into a great socialist nation. Previously, there was already some results of the Hong Kong community in embracing the spirit of the 20th Party Congress. Today, I believe with the authoritative insight offered by Mr. Shen Chunyao and Mr. Xie Fuzhan, we will be able to get an even more profound understanding of the 20th Party Congress that will be a source of greater confidence for us in taking Hong Kong not just from chaos to order, but also from stability to prosperity. Hong Kong will be able to even better leverage its own edge and propel itself to better integrate into the national development, so that Hong Kong can even better contribute to the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. I thank everyone for joining us at the session today.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. Please take your seat. Now we will invite Mr. Shen Chunyao and Mr. Xie Fuzhan to come on stage to share their views on the spirit of the 20th National Congress with us. Mr. Shen and Mr. Xie. Welcome. Right, we first give the floor to Mr. Shen. Mr. Shen, please. Mr. Lee, Chief Executive, ladies and gentlemen, compatriots, ladies and gentlemen, as well as members of the public following our seminar live. Mr. Xie and myself are on a delegation to Hong Kong to promote the spirit of the 20th National Congress. We feel both excited and honored, and we heard just now that the SAR and different sectors of the community are very enthusiastic in learning the spirit, and there have been various sharing sessions, and we have seen results. I feel so pleased about that. I want to thank the Chief Executive and Mr. Luo Weining, as well as Mr. Chen and Mr. Yang, and we want to thank the SAR government for the high regard they have for the seminar and their excellent arrangement. My good wishes to you all. Mr. Xie and I will cover the report together. I will go first. The 20th National Congress was held between the 16th and 22nd of October. The important outcome of the Party Congress was President Xi, on behalf of the Party Central Committee, delivered a report. We passed the work report by the Review Committee for the 19th National Congress, and we also passed resolutions and also adopted the latest party constitution. And also in the 20th Central Party Committee, we also have a new membership, and this goes to show that the whole country and also people of all ethnic groups wishes, and then they have helped us to make great achievements. Now, the spirit of the 20th National Congress can be seen in the report. Now I'm going to expound on the salient points of the report to you. First, we must first have a deep understanding of the theme of the 20th National Congress. Whenever we have a party congress, we will have a very specific theme to address issues faced by the Chinese Communist Party at that particular point. The banner we have to hold high, the path we are going to take, our spirit, and how we proceed. In recent national congresses, we could see this line. Now we will. Now there are 86 words in the theme of the 20th National Congress, and that is to hold high the great banner of socialism with Chinese characteristics and strive in unity to build a modern socialist country in all respects. We should fully implement the thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics of a new era, carrying forward the great founding spirit of the party, and stay confident and building strength, upholding fundamental principles and breaking new ground, forging ahead with enterprise and fortitude and striving unity to build a modern socialist country in all respects and advance the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on all fronts. Now, we must hold the banner high, the great banner of socialism with Chinese characteristics. And that is President Xi's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics. Now, the key words are Chinese characteristics, socialism with Chinese characteristics. This is the banner and direction of the Chinese Communist Party. That covers our theory. Now, these are key phrases. And secondly, to carry forward the great founding spirit of the party. Last year was the 100 was the centennium of the founding of the CPC, Chinese Communist Party. 100 years is a long time. It represents the struggle of a few generations, and we have gathered valuable experience. Last year, President Xi made an important speech on the centennium of CPC. And then he talked about the important, the great founding spirit of the party. 35 Chinese characters in 8 phrases. We must remember our founding spirit, our original aspirations, and must be loyal to the party, be strong in shouldering the responsibilities. We must remember our 100 years of hard work, and we have to remember the great founding spirit of the party. And that is the source of our spirit. That is the source of a series of important spirit. In Shanxi, Yan'an, and these are the basis of our revolution for 13 years. And that is the camp, the headquarters of our party. And then Anyang, Xianyang, and the famous red flag zone and the red flag spirit. So the spirit of the party covers a series of spirit, and then they were all built on the great founding spirit. And so in the 20th National Congress report, we have a historic perspective, and that is the struggle of the CPC in 100 years. We must carry forward the great founding spirit of the party. We must stay confident, and we must build our strength. We must uphold the fundamental principles and break new ground. After a century of struggle, we have achieved glorious achievements. However, the party is not complacent. We will continue to work hard and to break new ground so that we can scale new heights and even be more glorious. That is the spirit of the CPC. And we must strive in unity to build a modern socialist country in all respects and advance the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on all fronts. This is the new goal for the new era. We embark on a new journey. So we will strive ahead towards this goal. We've also achieved a very important goal, and that is we have built a moderately prosperous society in all respects. We have completed the war against poverty. We have eradicated poverty, and now we have new goals. So we should continue to strive forward. Now in the theme and also in the headings of the speech or the report, we frequently see the word strive in unity. Who should continue to strive? In unity. 1.4 billion of Chinese people should display solidarity in striving for our goals. So this is a very important spirit of the report of the 20th National Congress, and this is an essence we must grasp. And then None other idea we should grasp is the work of the past 5 years and also the great changes in the first decade of the new era. Now, in the past 5 years, that is the 5 years since the 19th National Congress. National Congresses are held every 5 years. So the report gave a review of the work of the party since the last party congress. And the first decade of the new era is the 10 years since the 18th National Congress under the leadership of President Xi, where we worked hard to build a modern socialist country in all respects in this new era. We have seen great changes in the past 10 years. So we have a review of the past 5 years as well as the last decade. Summarizing and learning from history is an important tradition of the CPC and is also where our strength lies. Whether we're talking about the whole party or various aspects from the president to party members, we have this sense of keep learning from experience. That is to reflect on past history and see what are the things we should keep up with and things where improvements are needed. So CPC always attaches importance to summarizing and learning from experience. Now, there are two important points in this review section. The first is experience of the past 5 years. Of course, the past 5 years is an integral part of the first decade of the new era. So for the past 5 years, the review here was relatively general and brief, and as an overall review. There are two characteristics in the past 5 years which warrant our further consideration. And there have been a lot of important events in the past 5 years, all linked to the development and improvement of the country and CPC.
Over the past 5 years, starting from 2017, the 19th Party Congress, and then 2018, that was the 40th anniversary of China's reform and opening up. We celebrated the 40th anniversary of reform and opening up. Major transformations and achievements had transformed the party, the country, people's lives. In this process, our compatriots from Hong Kong and Macau also made significant contributions. In 2019, that year marked the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. 70 years is no short time. That involves generations of people. People worked hard over the years. Sometimes there were great difficulties. People shed blood. Starting from 1949 to 2019, over the 70 years, we celebrated the 70th anniversary. Throughout the party and all the ethnicities in Hong Kong, people made significant contributions and achieved great things. 2019 was meaningful in another way. We achieved a moderately prosperous society. That happened in 2020. We achieved a victory in the war over poverty in 2020. We achieved that historic mission, a major undertaking. We also deepened the reform and also entrenched the institutions of socialism with Chinese characteristics. Also, the 13th Five-Year Plan, the relevant arrangements on society and economy, all this happened in 2020. We accomplished a range of monumental tasks in 2020 with remarkable results. In 2021, that is last year, that was the centenary of the Communist Party of China's founding. Throughout the party, there was learning, education on the party's history. We can see the hard work of the party and all the great achievements of the party. There were so many key moments over the past 5 years. All of them have to do with the hard work of the people, the party, and the country. Another point I want to make about the past 5 years. We went through some major challenges and trials. Several major challenges and trials. In the General Secretary's report, he listed 4 of them. Major challenges. The first one, the unexpected COVID pandemic. COVID hit in December 2019. We put people and lives first. We started a people's war against COVID and protected lives and their health to the greatest extent. We achieved great results in the fight. Those were impressive results. The second challenge came in the form of development in Hong Kong, the turbulence in Hong Kong. You have personal experience in what happened. You bore witness to what happened. You also took part in some of the work. There was turbulence in Hong Kong. We acted in accordance with the Constitution and the Basic Law and exercised the central government's overall jurisdiction over Hong Kong. The national security law was enacted. The principle of patriots administering Hong Kong was put in place. Through the collective effort of everyone from the state level and from the level of the HKSAR, as well as different sectors of the community, Hong Kong saw a transition from chaos to order. That was a major transition. This was one challenge and trial that was overcome for the country. Third, Taiwan independence forces and foreign forces interfering in Taiwan affairs. That represents another challenge involving these foreign forces engaging in provocation, especially this year. We are against interference and anti-secessionism. We took steps to oppose Taiwan independence. It's an area we showed our determination. We also further took the strategic initiative and took steps to stick to the principle of one country, one China. We opposed Taiwan independence forces. The fourth point in the report, given the rapid changes in the international development, especially for blackmail, distortion, blockade, maximum pressure. There were forces trying to contain, pressurize, sanction China. Those are obvious. We put our national interests first. We demonstrate our fighting spirit and a firm determination in upholding our country's dignity and core interests. These are the major challenges and trials we went through. These points are also set out by the General Secretary in the work report. These points carry deep meaning for us. In summarizing what happened, the key parts lie in the major transformations over the 10 years. What happened over the past 5 years is put in the context over the larger context of the 10 years. The major transformations over the 10 years. The 20th Party Congress report contains a lengthy discussion of the major transformations over the past 10 years of the new era. The General Secretary devoted 16 paragraphs to this part. He offers a panoramic summary of what happened, covering all kinds of work. That includes the guiding thinking of the party, how it moved with the times, plans of the party, as well as those for the country as a whole. We had created a moderately prosperous society. We took the victory in the battle against poverty, in developing our political institutions, economy, as well as protecting the environment, safeguarding national security, developing our military, one country, two systems, diplomacy, as well as the party's development. 16 aspects were involved. The party achieved historic achievement and transformations. These are the major transformations in the new era over the 10-year period. There are more than 4,000 Chinese characters devoted to this discussion. The new era of Chinese socialism contains a lot of major achievements. The figures will give us a picture. Take poverty eradication as an example. It started from the 1980s. We used to call that poverty alleviation. And then we stuck to the work in developing the country into a moderately prosperous country. The last bit of it, also the toughest part of it, is that there were 832 impoverished counties. In rural areas, impoverished population numbered more than 90 million people. That represents the toughest part of the work. The easy bits were accomplished earlier on. So after the 18th Party Congress, General Secretary Xi and the Central Committee focused on the 832 counties and the more than 90 million impoverished population. The party lifted them out of poverty. This represents a historic achievement in eradicating poverty and a major contribution in poverty reduction. Against the context of the globe, there has been global efforts to fight poverty. Most of the contribution and achievement happened in China. Now, this took a lot of hard work throughout the party and throughout our country. And we can see the results. And that's just one example I'm giving you in terms of social economic development and improvement in people's lives. The hard work over the 10 years, it's something that happened under the leadership of the Party Central Committee with the concerted efforts of the people and the party. The achievements over the past 10 years are the result of the hard work, diligence of the party and the people. That's why the General Secretary kept saying that it's impossible to expect great results by doing little to nothing over the years. For the moderate prosperity we have seen, reforming and opening, and the Chinese dream, to achieve all these, it takes hard work and the fighting spirit and persistent effort. That's how we can achieve results. The entire party and all the ethnic groups in China can see that with President Xi Jinping as the core of the party, amid the volatile international environment, the party and President Xi Jinping offered leadership in the complex, treacherous environment, and also demonstrated the leadership of the great Marxist straight strategist. He earned his position as the core of the party and the leader of the military. In the endeavor in the new era, the people of our country all agree that it has to do with the two establishers. We're saying that it's establishing President Xi Jinping as the core of the party and the Party Central Committee. And also establishing Xi Jinping thought and socialism with Chinese characteristics for the new era as the guiding thought of the era. That's for the major achievements over the past 10 years. Now, the third thing I would like us to grasp is adapting Marxism to the Chinese circumstances.
Marxism adapting to the Chinese culture and to the needs of the times now is ideology. Now, CPC attaches importance to summarizing experience, and we also set store by theories. Now, our revolution, reform, opening up, and achievement were all based on ideology. Now we have Marxism and Leninism as the guiding principle. But how can we apply this ideology to our administration? Now, in each party congress, we have a part on theory and ideology, innovation, the outcome, and also the significance of ideology. We must focus on ideology. So the second part of the report is to open up a new frontier in adapting Marxism to the Chinese context and needs of the times. Now, for this part, I think we can focus on a few areas. First is quantity, and second, integration, and the third is insistence or commitments. Now, we have to adapt Marxism to the Chinese context and the needs of the times. This part of the report starts with this statement. Why has CPC been successful? Why is socialism with Chinese characteristics desirable? Now, our opening up and reform are generally regarded as the implementation of socialism with Chinese characteristics. Now, the conclusion is we owe our success to the fact that Marxism works. As regards adapting Marxism to the Chinese context, now this was not the first time this idea was brought up. Even during Chairman Mao Zedong's times, there was already the idea as early back as 1938. There was already the discussion to adapt Marxism to the Chinese context. Even today, we have seen a series of important achievements because of this adaptation. We have Deng Xiaoping thought, Mao Zedong thought. The theory of three represents the scientific outlook on development, and now we have thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. These are all important fruits of adapting Marxism to the Chinese context. Now we emphasize adapting Marxism to the needs of the times. Because whether we talk about Marxism or Engels, they lived a long time ago, and time has moved on, and we need to adapt their ideology to suit nowadays needs. We have to modernize, and so adapting Marxism to the Chinese context and to the needs of the times. To take forward this, we have to ensure integration, the basic tenets of Marxism with China's specific realities, and integration with the fine traditional culture of China. The first integration owes its success to Mao Zedong and all party leaders. We are thankful to them for their contribution. And the second integration is the innovative idea, innovative thought of presidency, and that is to integrate Marxism with Chinese traditional culture. We have a long tradition. We have a long civilization, which is the crystallization of wisdom, and in there is fine tradition, and there is widespread social basis with support of the people. Now, for instance, the people-based idea that we share the country, and then we should use virtues to govern the country, and we should have innovation, and we should use people on the basis of meritocracy. We should pursue common good for all. We should promote harmony between humanity and nature. And we should ceaselessly pursue self-improvement and good virtues such as filial piety and embracing the world with virtue, active in good faith and being friendly to others, and fostering neighborliness. Now, these maxims, which have taken shape over centuries of work and life, reflect the Chinese people's way of viewing the universe, the world, society, and morality. These things must be integrated with Marxism. Marxism and our fine Chinese tradition should be integrated because these are values embraced by our people. Although people may not be aware of that, we should integrate these values with Marxism. And then we will have a very solid historical basis for our ideology. And then our ideology will be an organic one. So we should adapt Marxism to suit our Chinese culture, and we should integrate Marxism with our fine traditional culture. And we've also got 6 insistence. Why must we talk about the 6 insistence? Because when we talked about ideology, we should talk about the content as well. We should look at the important points, salient points in the ideology. But in the report, now the thought on a modern socialist country with Chinese characteristics cover a number of insistence. Now, we have already got 10 affirmations, 14 commitments, and 13 areas of achievement. And in the 6th plenary meeting held last year in 2021, what was achieved in the plenary session, the 6th plenary session? We endorsed a historical ideology covering the important hard work of the country in 100 years. So we have got everything set out already in that report. And so here we talked about what should be insisted on. Now we talked about innovative ideology of the party. We have this world view and also methodology and also stances, positions, and also ways. And we should also talk about general issues. Our position, our stance, and our methods are already incorporated in the 6 insistence. Now, there are 6 musts, and we must put the people first. We must put the people first. This is the stance of Marxism. People-centeredness is an essential attribute of Marxism. So our party's theories are from the people, for the people, and beneficial to the people. So the first is we must put the people first.
Whatever we do in proposing new theories, we need to have a firm grasp of the idea of putting people first and their lives above all else. Now, second, confidence and self-reliance. Any new theory we put forward, or any theory we try to develop, we need to stick to the idea of having confidence and self-reliance. Whatever work we do, whatever path we take, we need to stay confident. Self-reliance is not slavish imitation of what other people are doing. It is not a simple replication from what you find in a book. In the Communist Party of China's revolutionary history, the party achieved success through its own exploration, effort, and endeavors. That's how the party achieved what it has. There were detours in the past. So that's why confidence and self-reliance are very important in any attempt at proposing new theories. The third, innovation and upholding fundamental principles. First, we have to uphold and stick to fundamental principles. Matters of great importance that we have to stick to. But at the same time, there is also innovation. We need to dare to go where our predecessors dared not to. We have to dare to try where our forefathers dare not try. That's how we can achieve new results. Our predecessors did not go certain areas. And for us, we will need to have the innovative spirit to achieve results. Now, the fourth, take a problem-led approach. In developing, proposing new theories, or exploring things, we have to take this problem-oriented approach. We focus on the problem that we encounter. We try to fix these problems, overcome the difficulties. That guides our attempt at proposing and developing new theories. We're not just doing theorizing for its own sake. It's not just for an academic debate. We focus on the problem at hand. We focus on the practical things, the nitty-gritty. Communists are not just armchair theorists. We're not just there to work on the paper and call it a day. We fix real problems. We get things done. We have to take things forward. We cannot be armchair theorists. We get things done. We focus on the nitty-gritty, the implementation. That's why a problem-oriented approach matters. The fifth point, systems thinking. Now, this is a fundamental concept in philosophy. Our own experience will show us what this is. We encounter a problem. It's never just about a certain particular point. There are all kinds of factors behind the problem. That's what philosophers mean when they say everything is interconnected. It's never a single isolated point. Things also change over time. They're not in a static state. That's why systems thinking comes in. It helps us plan and proceed. This is one way to guide us in proposing and developing theories. The last point is a global vision. This should be fairly obvious. Our party has achieved monumental results. This means not just for the Chinese people, there is also significance for the world as a whole. This is the point about adapting Marxism to the Chinese context and the needs of the times. I have summarized them as the points I just put forward to you. We were at the third point. Now the fourth point I want to say here. The Chinese path to modernization. It's a new era with a new path. There's a historic mission for the Communist Party of China. This is a key part of the report. Now the fifth part. Goals, missions for the country and the party. Socialist modernization on all fronts and also the goals. In the 20th Party Congress report, Part 4 to Part 14 are devoted to a discussion on the party, the country, the overall plans involved. There are also key goals and measures on how we can reach those goals. There is substantial discussion in those parts. There are two parts to the approach, the strategic goals. In a moment, Mr. Xie will also discuss those points in detail, so I will not go into them here. Now, Part 4 to Part 14 of the work report. Part of it is something I want to elaborate on. One country, two systems, as Mr. John Lee and the other leaders were saying. In Part 13 of the work report, the General Secretary urged us to stick to one country, two systems and work towards national reunification. Now, some brief remarks from me on these points. For Hong Kong and Macau special administrative regions, this part has a lot of significance in this part. And here are the highlights. First, we need to stick to one country, two systems over the long run. One country, two systems is a monumental achievement in socialism with Chinese characteristics. This is the best institutional arrangement for the long-term prosperity and stability of Hong Kong and Macau. This is also a point made by President Xi Jinping in his important speech on July 1st this year. It's the 25th anniversary of the handover for Hong Kong. The new term of government was just sworn in. President Xi delivered this important speech about one country, two systems. First, we need to stick to the system, and second, we need to fully and faithfully implement one country, two systems. It's a good system. We need to adhere to it in the long haul. This is also made clear in the work report at the 20th Party Congress. We need to stick to it over the long term, and also fully and faithfully implement the formula. These things come together and forms a core idea. One country, two systems as an arrangement forms the basis of the discussion that follows, and also law-based governance in Hong Kong and Macau. What do we mean by this? The institutions in the SARs represent monumental achievements under one country, two systems. Our country's constitution and the basic law form the constitutional basis of the SARs. They underpin the constitutional order of these SARs. Then there are also the local laws in the respective SARs. Hong Kong also is subject to the national security law, and then there is also a law on the garrisons, etc. Law-based governance for Hong Kong and Macau is important. Tomorrow will be the Constitution Day of our country. December 4th is the Constitution Day of our country. We will be having the 9th Constitution Day this year. This year also marks the 40th anniversary of the promulgation of our country's constitution. 40 years ago, it was promulgated. Many of you were probably still very young 40 years ago. You were probably still children 40 years ago. So in 1982, the Constitution provided for the special administrative regions and the institutions in those SARs, and also provisions on the powers, responsibilities of the National People's Congress. Subsequently, there was an amendment on NPCs. We need deputies not just from the provinces and municipalities. We also need NPC delegates from the SARs. Now, there will also be a new round of election of NPC delegates in the SAR. So the Constitution and the basic law come together and form the constitutional basis of the SARs. That's what we mean by the law-based governance of the SARs. Now, the third point is adherence to and improvements to the systems of one country, two systems. To stick to the one country, two systems over the long term, we need to adapt the institutions and keep improving them. So we have to adhere to the systems and improve the systems. They are in a special relationship. First, you have to adhere to the systems. Without them, you run into all sorts of problems. But if you fail to improve the systems, the system will be bereft of vitality and vibrancy. So how do we adapt the systems to the changing times? We could not have regulated everything, provided for everything in the provisions 20, 30 years ago. Our predecessors could not have been expected to provide for everything when they first drafted the provisions 20, 30 years ago. This applies to the basic law for Hong Kong and for Macau. It was a monumental achievement in its own right when the basic law for each SAR was promulgated years ago. But then over time, new scenarios emerged. new problems came up. That's why we need everyone here to put your heads together, come up with a solution, and then we can stick to the system. We cannot expect our predecessors and forefathers to provide ready-made solutions 20, 30 years ago for problems that came up later on. Now, another point. We need to leverage the unique advantages and distinctive status of Hong Kong and Macau. Hong Kong and Macau each has its own unique characteristics. They have their strengths. They need to give full play to these strengths. As the General Secretary said, Hong Kong has the support of the motherland and also connectivity with the world. How do the two SARs give full play to these unique advantages and functions? There is discussion on this in the work report to the 20th Party Congress. The report goes on to discuss the Greater Bay Area development, United Front, and also determination in fighting forces seeking to destabilize Hong Kong and Macau and oppose China, and also opposing foreign forces seeking to interfere in Hong Kong and Macau affairs. Now, the final point here has to do with the party's development and self-reform. At each party congress, there's a part devoted to the party's governance. This is in part 15 in the work report to the 20th Party Congress. On its face, it seems to be related to the Communist Party itself. But then, it is also a source of guidance and inspiration for the rest of the country. I want to just focus on a few points. There are 96 million party members of the Communist Party of China. That's a large party. More than 4.9 million grassroots organizations under the party. We are a large party. But for the first time, the General Secretary made this point in the report. He reminded the party to stay alert and stay determined to resolve the unique difficulties for a large party like the CPC. A large party like ours has our own advantages and strengths, but we are also confronted with difficulties unique to a party like ours. That's why the General Secretary reminded us to stay alert to these problems.
If we do not stay alert, not only we're not able to fully maximize our advantages, we will also face challenges. And the second is to always bear in mind two things. And that is we must have full and regular self-governance. And second, self-reform is something we must always remember. Self-reform of the party is an important thought. Self-reform of the party will help us to tackle the fall of a political party. So in this regard, this is a very significant thought. We must allow self-reform of the party to lead social transformation. Now, self-reform of the party is about the party. It's about the party itself. But then, self-reform can help to improve the party. It will help to steer social transformation as well. Without self-reform of the party, we cannot have social transformation of the country. If we do not carry on with this struggle, then this party is not going to be vibrant and dynamic. We have to insist on self-reform of the party. And this is also a very important conclusion we've drawn from experience. So I've already covered 7 topics, all of which are important ones. I think these are important points for us to learn and to think about. So what I said might not be very accurate, but then I will give the floor to Mr. Xie. He's going to cover important parts of the report as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Shan, for your inspiring speech. I'm sure we have now gained a deeper understanding of the spirit, and we will persevere and follow the spirit of the 20th National Congress. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Xie. Mr. Xie. Chief Executive, Mr. Johnny, Mr. Law, Mr. Yang, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very pleased and honored to be in Hong Kong to share with you some of my insights and observations in the spirit of the 20th National Congress. Mr. Shan has given an overall and in-depth and authoritative explanation of the report. Now I'd like to talk about the modernization of China, and my speech will focus on the academic, scientific, and social aspects. I'm going to share with you my views from 4 perspectives. Now, as set out in the report, starting from now, the mission of the CPC is to lead the people of all ethnic groups to build China into a strong nation so that we can advance the grand rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. The report has expounded in great details the important spirit and also socialist country with Chinese characteristics. Now, this is the right path for us after 100 years of exploration. The path to modernization is the outcome of a prolonged exploration. We have made breakthroughs, and we have successfully taken forward this goal. So we have overcome three major objectives. We have liberalized the Chinese people. We have driven away feudalism in China. The establishment of the PRC has laid the basic social foundation for rejuvenation of the great Chinese nation. The party has led the people of China in this exploration. We have gone through social reforms. We have now become a populous country in the East. We have established socialist system which has laid down the foundation for further development. We have gone through a long and tortuous road, but then we were able to find this new path for reform, and that is opening up and reform. We displayed great political courage so that from poverty we are now a moderately prosperous society. We have our own systems. In order to rejuvenate the Chinese nation, we have laid down the conditions for rapid development of the country. Under the strong leadership of the party, we have achieved historical achievements. We have seen great changes in the society, in the country. Now, we are now a strong nation, and we have provided good system safeguards and laid a solid foundation. Modernization of China is the outcome of 100 years of strife and exploration. We have modernization with Chinese characteristics. It has the characteristics of a modern country, and it has grasped the opportunities of industrial and technology revolutions. And we have promoted economic changes. And we have our own characteristics. In the 5th plenary session of the 19th Party Congress, the Secretary General said that our modernization involves a big population. We have the goal of common prosperity. We have a path of peaceful development. So this was clearly set out in the plenary session. Our achievements and exploration have demonstrated that there is no unique formula of modernization, and there are no general standards for modernization. Now, in the West, the modernization is capitalism-based. And then we have already broken the myth that modernization is the same as westernization. We have provided a China solution for betterment of humankind. For a long time, the West have advocated capitalism, and it's only by means of capitalism that there can be modernization. Now we have achieved a miracle here. We have broken that myth. We don't really have too many countries that are fully modernized. Some of them, or quite a number of them, are old countries like Portugal, Spain, the UK, France, Germany, and the US. These are old countries built their success on wars, colonialism, and by looting. And then there are other countries, smaller countries, that have achieved modernization.
Like Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Singapore in Asia. These countries represent small countries with a smaller population, but their experience cannot be generalized to other countries. Developing countries are having a hard time exploring how to achieve modernization. Some are success stories. Some ignore their own national circumstances and simply replicate the Western mode. That led to all kinds of difficulties, and they're stuck faltering with modernization attempts on and off, lurching from one crisis to another. Social turmoil ensued, disrupting their own modernization drive. We have some examples. Brazil, Argentina. Back in the 1960s and 70s, they saw rapid development, but then crisis came with an expanding wealth gap. These countries were stuck in the middle income trap. For a long time, they were just struggling. These are some examples. In South Africa or some countries in Southeast Asia, they are in a similar position. They share something in common. A wide wealth gap, social tensions followed. There are also countries beset with problems over national groups, ethnic groups, religious groups, leading to strife, division, or long-term turmoil in the country. In the former Soviet Union, that country was the first socialist state in the world. Their economic output, military power, and commerce national power were closest to that of the US. But then afterwards, the Soviet Communist Party, under the leadership back then, Mikhail Gorbachev, gave up on the party's leadership, and he gave up on the socialist system, leading to the disintegration of the country, economic privatization, the money accrued in the hands of the few. That led to oligarchs, leading to further decline in Soviet power. From the experience of the modernization attempts of various countries, we can see this. For us, if we're not going for the Chinese path of modernization under the CPC's leadership, and instead if we go for the Western way to modernization, we would not have achieved what we have today, and we will not have a bright future. That's the second point I want to make. The third point, the essential requirements and overarching principles of the Chinese path to modernization. As stated in the report, we have to stick to leadership of the Communist Party of China. We stick to socialism with Chinese characteristics. We pursue high-quality development, whole process people's development, enriching people's lives, common prosperity for all, promoting harmony between humanity and nature, building a human community with a shared future, and creating a new form of human advancement. It's a simple and clear idea. We must uphold the leadership of the party, and we stick to socialism with Chinese characteristics. The next few points I just mentioned have to do with prosperity, harmony, and other qualities we want to see. These are the things in the modern societies. These things come together in forming a modern society. The last two bits, building a human community with a shared future and creating a new form of human advancement. This shows the implications of Chinese modernizations, not just for China, but for the world. Now, given these essential requirements, the 20th Party Congress report says that we need to uphold 5 principles in our quest. To achieve modernization, we have to bear these 5 principles in mind. First, we need to stick to and uphold the overall leadership of the party. History shows that without the Chinese Communist Party, there will be no rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. There will be no modernization. So we need to uphold the authority of the party's Central Committee. We need to implement things through different levels, the different sectors. We need to get the direction of our modernization right. We also need to make sure we have the confidence and we bring different parties together. We also have to stick to the path of the Chinese path to socialization, as in socialism with Chinese characteristics. The path to modernization, the Chinese path, as opposed to the Western path, is that here in China, we uphold the leadership of the Communist Party of China with the socialism with Chinese characteristics. The Chinese path to social modernization, we have to stick to the 4 cardinal principles. We stick to reform and opening up, self-reliance, our own confidence, and we stick to the idea that we need to put our people first. Our own future needs to be kept in our own hands. We also need to adopt the people-centric philosophy. General Secretary emphasized that the people are our country is just our people. People's aspirations for a better life will be our goals. So the whole point of us on this modernization drive is to serve people's needs. We will have to uphold people's interests and respect their well-being. Development is all about people, and we have to achieve development through people so that people can benefit from the results of our modernization attempt. This is how we can get popular support and make modernization work. We also have to deepen reforms. And we have to stick to innovation and ensure there's continued vibrancy and vitality in our work so that we can deliver real results. That's how we can achieve rapid transformation. Mr. Deng Xiaoping used to say that without reform and opening up, we will have no future. That was an inspirational statement. We stuck to that path, and that's how we achieved what we have today. I want to quote some figures. In 1996, our GDP was a tenth of the US GDP back then. In 2006, our GDP represents 20% of the US GDP. In 2008, we were at 30%. In 2010, we were at 40%. In 2012, we were at 50%. In 2040, we were at 60%. In 2020, we were at 70%. In 2021, we were at 77% of the US GDP. This shows that without reform and opening, we would not have achieved all these results. In 2021, our total economic output was 18.5% of the world's GDP. That's up 7.7% from 10 years ago. Our economic output saw a major increase over the years. This is rare and hard-earned results. This is the results we achieved only because we stick to the Chinese path to modernization. Over decades, we achieved what the Western developed countries achieved over centuries. Without reform and opening up, we would not have seen our country's rapid development. And we wouldn't have achieved our enviable position today, and there would have been no future. The fifth point I want to highlight is to carry on the fighting spirit. The General Secretary asked us to have the ability and courage to fight. We need to have confidence and then have the courage to not to be intimidated or deterred and rise to challenges. In our path forward, in driving modernization, there are both foreseeable and unforeseeable difficulties. There are blockades and suppression from the West. There will be great ever-increasing pressure from the West. So for us here, we will have to rely on our own hard work. This is why the fighting spirit is so crucial to the Chinese path to modernization. We will also need to be good at fighting to achieve modernization. Hong Kong has seen a transition from chaos to order and from stability to prosperity. This point is particularly salient in Hong Kong. Without the fighting spirit, we would not have achieved what we have seen in Hong Kong today. Now, building a socialist state in all respects, this is a very difficult, challenging task, and there's the heavy responsibility on us. So we have to be proactive, we have to adapt to changes, and we have to guard against risks. And that's how we can achieve our country's modernization. Building a socialist country in all respects. The work report mentions a two-step approach. First, from 2020 to 2035, we will have to basically realize socialist modernization. From 2035 to the middle of this century, we have to develop our country into a rich, prosperous, harmonious, and beautiful country. In the next 5 years and over the longer time span, there are 11 plans for our strategic goals. So I will focus on some core points. I will outline the key areas. We need the industry system for a modern state and speed up the relevant work. We need an industrial system as the basis for an economy. As I say it, there are several things involved. First, we focus on changes in technology and industries. Into the 21st century, changes are happening at ever more faster paces, like artificial technology, Internet of Things, etc. All kinds of technology happened and are being applied. There are synthetic genetics and also other areas in life sciences. Changes are also happening. There is robotics. Another thing that has an impact on manufacturing. And we need to drive transformation in our country on these tech areas. For green and clean energy, there is transformation in the energy sector across the world. There are rapid changes in communications technology as well. New technologies are coming out. Major breakthroughs have yet to happen. With these changes in technologies, it is reshaping the global economic order with implications for our country's future. They represent huge opportunities for our country. That's why the work report says that we need to step up our manufacturing, aviation, maritime transportation, internet, digital technology, lay down a solid foundation for our industries, and also modernize our industry chains. We have to drive high-end manufacturing development and green development as well. We also have to seize the opportunities for strategic industries, for emerging industries, and also for strategic industries. We need to speed up the development. We need to develop the real economy as well to maintain the vibrancy in the manufacturing sector. We need to keep the manufacturing sectors. They need to be part of the economy. In the West, over there, they just want us to remain the world's factory. They want us to be locked into the middle and lower end of the manufacturing chain. We cannot allow that to happen. Our mission is to keep our manufacturing sector as a key player in the economy. But at the same time, we also have to keep leveling up our manufacturing sector. In advanced manufacturing, green technology, etc., we need new sources of growth in new technology sectors. Over the past decades, the real estate sector has had a major impact on the economy. They represent 25% of all the investments in the economy. They also make up a sizable part of our GDP. So real estate really has been a key pillar in our economy. But then, with the sector's development and demographic changes, and as people are living in larger flats, the real estate sector may not be playing the same important role in the economy in the future. Now there are green sectors, green manufacturing. We have wind power, photovoltaic technologies, new energy, automobiles. When we first proposed carbon neutrality and peak carbon, people thought these would get in the way of the economy. But as experience shows, we achieved great results in the carbon-related goals. In many ways, we're actually leaders across the world. Now, turning to expediting the development of the digital economy and combining it with the real economy, create a competitive industry chain. We have an edge. We have a huge market in the country. We have a huge platform economy. That economy has to do with our huge market. We have to continue to leverage that advantage. And we also have to enhance our infrastructure and modernize the infrastructure. This means we need to modernize the transport networks and energy systems. And we also have to integrate different sectors and strengthen our agriculture sector so that our food supply is firmly in control by our own country. This is a point that the General Secretary has been stressing time and again. Food supply for our 1.4 billion people is always a key question. Sure, we can import food, but then when major upheavals happen in the international scene, leave aside where the food comes from, some countries may decide to stop exporting food. Look at the war in Ukraine. Some countries started restricting food exports, so we have to learn those lessons.
So we must develop modern service industries. Financial services are most important to economic development. So we have tremendous potential, and for education, science, culture, and tourism, they have tremendous potential for further development. And also for industries that cannot be attracted into Hong Kong, into the country, we develop our own. For instance, semiconductors and chips. And also supply of high-tech devices. For those smaller than 14 nanometer, they would not be sold to the country, and so we have to develop our own. And in areas where we lack resources, such as important mine resources, and we should enhance our planning so that we can have our own safe and efficient development. And then we should make good use of our vast market. We should expedite our development of dual circulation in our economy. And we should promote high standard opening up. This is the driving force for building a modern socialist country. After so many years of opening up, we've already laid down the framework. And our system is being improved. However, there is still room for improvement. For instance, now there are two important directions stressed by the central government, and that is the improvement of governance structures or systems of state-owned enterprises so that they can play a more important role in driving economic growth. And as for private enterprises, it's usually at a critical juncture there will be voices from the community, not from the central government. Now, proprietors of private enterprises will fear this idea of common prosperity. When we talked about enhanced regulation of platforms, they will feel worried. In fact, they don't have to. And enhancement of taxation control. Now, we have got artists that have got a dozen of registered companies, and they try to evade tax using these shell companies. So when we investigate, they will say that we're trying to oppress the rich. No, this is entirely wrong. We must insist on tackling them. And we must address the relations between the government and also the market properly. And I think that this is a perpetual subject. We have to improve systems of the market so that there can be fair use of the market, and everyone should enjoy a level playing field so that we can have a stable and transparent environment. We must crack down on monopoly, and we must improve our system in tackling these issues. We have strengthened reforms. It's easy to incorporate an enterprise. You do not have any prepaid capital. Now we have changed the system, and after you've obtained a license, you must really operate. We have to create a favorable operating environment for enterprises, and we must have a good macroeconomic governance system to play a strategic role. We must set up a central banking system, and we must deepen our reform of our taxation system and reduce our reliance on real estates, and then we should form a new taxation regime. So this is about deepening reform. And we should develop a system that is more open. We have seen great changes in the world, and there's been transformation and adjustment in the market. And because of the pandemic, the Russell conflicts and the supply chains have been dealt a heavy blow. And the U.S. in particular are asking for their manufacturing sector to return to the country. Indeed, many factories have relocated back to the U.S. For instance, the TSMC is an example. People say that maybe it want to change its name to U.S. and it spent $12 billion in Arizona, but the project has aborted. So there will be further investment. They are attracting their manufacturing sector to return to the U.S. And then there is the trend of regionalization and localization. They are trying to oppress our country. And in the industries where we have an edge, and in industries that rely high-tech, they are imposing restrictions on us. For instance, photovoltaic products, there are new measures against us. President Xi is very visionary, and he has established a new development pattern of dual circulation. This is a way to promote high-quality development of the economy and to preserve our economic autonomy and to preserve national security. This new development pattern is not to change our national policy of opening up. Rather, we are driving higher quality opening up so that we can leverage our advantage as having a big market, and we should also enhance the quality of investment. And we should turn into a strong nation of trade, and there should be proper rationalization. And also we can have a negative list for foreign investment, and to have a better business environment. And we should have high standards and broaden our free trade zones and expedite the implementation of the Belt and Road Initiative. And we should also use science and education to invigorate the country so that we can become a strong socialist nation. Our greatest weakness here is technology, and so the 20th National Congress report said that we should focus our scientific talents into building a modern socialist country with Chinese characteristics. We need science and technology. This is our weakest link and is also an important arena where there is conflict between the U.S. and our country. We must strengthen ourselves. And where do scientific talents come from? From education, of course. And therefore, we put science and education under the same heading. In the past, education was under social development, and now we have integrated science and education and talents and manpower. And because the central government has got overall strategic plan for human resources development. Now, human resources is our greatest asset, and science and education are important. We must start a new area, and we should bring in new impetus. So much so about technology. I will skip the details. We have to go along the way of common prosperity. Common prosperity is what is expected of socialism with Chinese characteristics. When it comes to common prosperity, there are 3 stages. The first, during the 14th five-year plan, now by 2035, we have to have real progress. And then by 2030, through the middle of the century, we must achieve common prosperity. We have 30 years to realize these goals. There have been some misinterpretation or misunderstanding of common prosperity. When we talked about common prosperity, for instance, in Zhejiang, there is a trial zone for common prosperity. Now, we are not asking that to be achieved overnight. We have 3 stages with very clear goals and missions for each stage. We can have demonstration zones for exploration to learn from experience. Zhejiang, well, the president once worked there for 5 years. He knows the situation well. The ratio between the income ratio between city and rural areas is 2 to 1, and the gap is the smallest among all provinces. So it is in the best position to develop. So we must have accurate understanding of common prosperity. Now, we must understand the situation of the country, and we must understand what is high quality development, and also we should strive in unity so that we can have a bigger pie. We must enlarge the market. We want common prosperity, not common poverty. We must have development in order to achieve this. And through a reasonable system arrangement and proper allocation of income and resources, we can have a good share of the cake. I think the weakest link here is the discrepancy between cities and rural areas, and also the income gap of these 2 places. So we must do this in sync. We must ensure that income can be in sync with economic development, and we must raise the personal income with national income, and we must have good allocation of resources. The process of income distribution should be such that the workforce should enjoy a share.
Now, turning to redistribution, there needs to be greater targeted approach in redistributing the wealth and in terms of welfare. And we have to address the problems of very low pay for certain workers, so that we create conditions for the redistribution in the 3rd round through charity, etc. Everything's all about narrowing the income gap. The primary distribution is about money going to workers. Redistribution or secondary distribution happens through taxation. We also have to act accordance with the law in tackling those acquiring income through illegal means. We also have to tap into the initiative in the community. In Hong Kong, there are entrepreneurs donating money to charities with great results. In the mainland, state-owned enterprises and private enterprises are also fulfilling their social responsibility in similar ways. The 3rd point is that we do what we can and spend within our means. In addressing income disparity, we have to have regard to the state of the economy and our means. So we take things one step at a time. Steady steps. We cannot rush, but we cannot drag our feet at the same time. Now, we cannot keep kicking the can down the road and then 5 years and 10 years later, we're in the same spot. Now, we cannot resort to welfareism. In the West, the democracy is all about offering people promises that only end up being broken. The politicians there overpromise and underdeliver. So for us here, we need to be mindful of our means and do what we can. In the end, we want to address the income disparity problem. Now, the sixth point is about green development. This is a more technical aspect, so I won't go into detail. Now, the seventh point has to do with addressing the risks. Since the 18th Party Congress, President Xi Jinping stressed this point. We are confronted with changes of a magnitude unseen in a century. Changes are happening, unfolding in unprecedented ways. There are many unprecedented challenges. Our courage and determination and capability are put to a test. As I see it, the greatest challenge we are grappling with at home is the downward pressure on the economy, which leads to a string of economic, social, and livelihood problems. We also have to guard against financial risks. There are all kinds of risks for regional governments, including those associated with the real estate sector. All these comes down to downward pressure on the economy. There are also external other factors. We are no longer seeing the benefit of this huge population. In the past, we unleashed the productivity of our population. Rural population went to cities. But back then, we had the growing population. Now, the population has more or less peaked. Our labor force has shrunken by 40 million. Demographic changes are happening, and we cannot stop it. I won't go into detail, but given changes in our population size and demographic changes, we may see lower productivity. That also means greater burden on families. This is because you have more seniors in the community and fewer workers in the economy. More retirees, fewer workers. We have more than 260 million of our people moving into retirement age. So for us, we have to maintain a steady pace of economic growth, and we have to unleash whatever potential there is to show up the economy. This is how we address the risk. Now, internationally, the risks primarily come from the US, their China-bashing politics. The US sees China as a major strategic competitor when it comes to issues of Taiwan, Hong Kong, Xinjiang. They create trouble for us. After Donald Trump took office as the US president, he focused on trade, finance, investment, and technology. But after Joe Biden took over, the measures taken by Donald Trump remained in place. In fact, every one such measure remained in place. The US ganged up with its own allies against us by creating trouble for us on a range of issues, including issues of Hong Kong, Xinjiang, and also the South China Sea. It's all ideological. We are a socialist state, there is a communist party here, so we are seen as an ideological enemy, and they are waging an ideological struggle. They're trying to contain us across the globe, infiltration, sanction, disrupting our supply chain, smearing. They are trying all these tactics in containing us. They're also launching an information war against us. They're trying to disrupt our institutions and undermine the Communist Party and stopping us in our attempt to achieve our rejuvenation. So internationally, this is the greatest risk for us. So we cannot afford to have any illusions. We need to prepare for the worst case scenario. We need to strengthen our ability and the courage to fight and rally people around us. In that way, we can overcome any challenge, foreseeable or unforeseeable. No matter what challenges there are and what risks there are, we need to do our things right. So we need to embrace the spirit of 20th Party Congress and rally around the Party Central Committee with President Xi Jinping at its core and implement the Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. We need to be mindful that idle talk will do nothing for our country. Only hard work will deliver results. And we have to work towards this goal of building our country into a socialist, powerful socialist state. And I'll be happy to accept any comments. We thank Mr. Xie for his speech. We will now move on to a questions and answer session. Before the seminar started, we asked you to put your questions on a question paper. We collected the question papers. The delegation picked 3 questions, and I have them with me. I will read out the first question, and then I will invite Mr. Xie and Mr. Shen to take these questions. The first question comes from Mr. Ma Fengkwok. We thank Mr. Ma for his questions. His question goes like this. The 20th Party Congress report stresses that we need to stick to one country, two systems, and we need to fully, faithfully, and unswervingly implement this one country, two systems. This is written into the party constitution. What's the significance of one country, two systems for our city's future? What are some core requirements in terms of fully, faithfully, and unswervingly implementing one country, two systems? I thank Mr. Ma for the interest he has taken in the discussion in the work report on one country, two systems. Long-term adherence takes commitment. As President Xi made clear in his July 1st speech, adhering to the system in the long term, fully, faithfully, and unswervingly over the long term. The work report this time sets out clearly that one country, two systems is the best institutional arrangement for Hong Kong. This is the position of the party. Long-term adherence means two things, and they're interrelated. Full, faithful, and unswerving implementation. Means this. You have to fully, faithfully, and unswervingly adhere to something. And that's how you are really sticking to it over the long term. This requirement is written into the party constitution. Apart from Part 13 in the work report, which deals with one country, two systems for Hong Kong and Macau, there are also other parts in the work report on the amendments to the party constitution. The General Secretary also offered a summary on the work done over the past 5 years and the transformations in the 10 years of the new era. There's also the party constitution, party resolution on the work report. Full, faithful, unswerving implementation are crucial parts of long-term adherence. Without a full and faithful implementation, you're not really adhering to it. Without unswervingly upholding one country, two systems, that is hardly long-term adherence. So they all come together. Unswerving adherence takes political commitment. One country, two systems is a monumental achievement, and the party has made its position clear on this formula. Some requirements are set out in the work report. Improving the systems and institutions under one country, two systems, for example. The formula needs to be underpinned by systems and institutions. There's a need to uphold them and improve them. In the work report, there are specific requirements, including implementing the central authority's overall jurisdiction, implementing the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong, and also implementing the mechanism systems for safeguarding national security. These are the requirements. Now, the Central People's Government's overall jurisdiction and the Hong Kong SAR's high degree of autonomy. These are also clearly set out in the work report. We need to uphold both. So we're not emphasizing one at the expense of other. We need to uphold both. This is the core essence of one country, two systems. When the Basic Law was first enacted and one country, two systems was first conceived, patriots administering Hong Kong and also Macau, all these are crucial parts. They come together.
And there are also other points in the report. As President Xi said, on other occasions, one country, two systems. We talk about one country with two systems. So both should be equally emphasized. We can't be lopsided. We cannot just focus on one and ignore the other. Without a country, then there's no two systems. Without two systems, then this is not really an SAR system. So we have one country, two systems, and that's why we have special administrative regions. We need to understand this in full and properly. And we need to implement and realize this policy. For instance, there is another important point in the report which I did not mention just now, and that is to insist on being action-led. This is a very clear expectation in the report. It is in line with the basic laws of Hong Kong and Macau. This is about implementation of the basic law, having an executive-led system. And then for a while, in Hong Kong, did we fully and accurately grasp this executive-led idea? So we have to sort out the ideological aspect, and the systems, etc., have to be sorted out. So adhere to the system on the long term, and full and faithful, resolute implementation of one country, two systems. The governance team of the two SARs and the people of the country should work together on the one country, two systems policy, so that the system can be sustainable, and then it will have a part to play in the country. It's excellent that Mr. Ma has taken note of this point in particular. Let's work hard together. Thank you very much, Mr. Shan, for your very clear response. The second question I have here is from Mr. Xi Hongwei. The report mentioned that we must give full play to the advantages and strengths of Hong Kong and Macau, and we should strengthen our position as an international financial trade center. And what support will the Central People's Government give us, and how we can complement with Shanghai in these important areas? This is a very good question, because this is a subject quite familiar to many of us. Before I came to Hong Kong, I asked the Hong Kong Institute in MPC to collect some issues that are close to the heart of Hong Kong, so that I can come prepared. And I think this is a very practical issue. As we all know, there's a lot of economic cooperation between Hong Kong and the mainland. Hong Kong is the second largest export destination, and Hong Kong and the mainland are important partners of one another. So from the perspective of trade link, now in 2021, the trade volume between the two places was $360 billion, up 8.5% over the previous year. Now, on the investment, Hong Kong is the largest source of foreign investment for the mainland and the first destination of mainland capital. In 2021, there was $1.4 trillion of investment, and FDI, including those in financial services, included. And then we have also $800 billion of foreign investment, accounting for 83% of the total FDI in the mainland. So I'm of the view that whether we talk about trade or investment, Hong Kong is playing a very important role. It is an important platform and also a hub. Now, we have direct investment from Hong Kong, and we've also got foreign investment. And some of the capital returns after going out. So for financial links, Hong Kong is a primary listing place for IPOs of China enterprises. They account for about 50% of the total number of listings in Hong Kong and accounting for 7% of the value. And they account for a large percentage of the market value in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong also accounts for 70% of the listings. So Hong Kong is a very important place for financing of mainland enterprises. It's also the largest renminbi offshore market. As of June, we have $815 billion of renminbi assets in Hong Kong. In 2021, for renminbi denominated security bonds, the amount was $550 billion, the largest offshore renminbi offshore market of the world. So whether we are talking about trade, investment, or financial services, the links between the two places are very close. Now, in Hong Kong, there is government support and there is also market support. And then there is a mutual benefit and complementarity. So these are very important relations. And the second question is about cooperation between Hong Kong and Shanghai in areas of aviation and shipping. In terms of shipping, I think the two can complement one another in their strengths and promote one another's development. Hong Kong's internet, the both have also equally strong in terms of shipping industry. Shanghai has a high throughput in its port and is developing at a very high speed. And for Hong Kong, we are stationed in PRD, and it has got advantages in this regard. For entry port trade, Hong Kong has the mainland as its support and is connected to the world. And this is the advantage of Hong Kong. There is lots of room for cooperation between Shanghai and Hong Kong in shipping and in trade. They can each leverage their own strengths, and then they can all play the role of a hub. Now, this is my personal understanding. Hong Kong attaches more importance to playing the part of a shipping hub. And then cooperation in industries. Shanghai can improve its spatial planning and then can serve the Changjiang Delta. And it should strengthen its ocean-going capacity. For Hong Kong, we should focus on our radiating effect to neighboring cities so that Shanghai and Hong Kong can work together to build a cluster, a world-class cluster in shipping, so as to consolidate China's position as a world shipping center. They can also take part in RCEP and also the Belt and Road Initiative, so that they can together build a shipping system. And of course, that needs the coordination and planning of the country, and the two governments have to support this. And market forces should also be playing a part. Thank you.
We thank Mr. Xie for his response. I'm sure you've got a lot of stats and you'll be more assured about our prospect. We now move on to the third question. It comes from Mr. Tam Yu Chong. Mr. Tam's question goes like this. The 20th Party Congress report lays down scientific objectives for China's future development. It also lays down the plans and demonstrates the bright future of our country. But there are concerns from the outside world about our country's economy. What's the source of our future economic growth and the source of our strength in the future? That question touches on some tough problems. COVID has dealt a heavy blow to our country's economy over the past 3 years. The same applies to the global economy. At different points, different economies suffered blows to varying degrees. Sometimes we were hit harder than other countries. It's the opposite case at other times. For the mainland, at the high-level working group committee, we saw a triple whammy that had to do with how income levels fell and the economy was hit hard. But that came down to COVID, geopolitical tensions, containment from the US and the rest of the Western world. But as for our outlook on China's future, we are confident in our country's future economic development. What gives us the confidence? First, we have institutional superiority. Now, with the leadership and guidance of the CPC, we have advantages at various levels of the government. They can mobilize members of the community to coordinate work. They can implement policies. We can coordinate resources and deliver results in major undertakings and tough missions. In exceptionally difficult times, our institutional advantages really manifest themselves. We also have a huge market in our country. Not many countries can boast the same advantage. 40 years into reform and opening, we have major achievements and they point to such advantage. As for our future development, we have a solid basis to make that happen. If this were not the case, we would not have been able to make it through 3 years of COVID. We have seen only limited increase in our debt level. There is no notable drop in standards of living. A small number of people have indeed been affected. But given all the development and results we achieved, we have this solid basis. We have more than 1.4 billion people, and more than 400 million people of them are those with a certain level of income. Once we achieve high quality development and achieve other goals, there will be more expansion in the domestic market that will support our long-term economic development. We also have a complete industry chain. We have 41 different industry sectors, more than 660 sub-classifications in our industries. So we have all those kinds of industries by UN standards. When COVID hit, we had the capacity to produce masks. Our state-owned enterprises and private enterprises were mobilized to ramp up production of face masks. We were even able to export masks. The same goes for our production capacity of vaccines. We have a wide range of industries in our economy. The same cannot be said for smaller economies. Now, for the more than 500 industrial products we have, our country is a leader in terms of capacity in over 40% of such industry products. So we have a full industry chain. We still have significant room for development. Our per capita GDP was at roughly $12,500. For middle income developing countries, their per capita GDP is roughly $25,000 to $35,000. So there is room for us to double the per capita GDP of our economy. So we're not done with our industrialization and urbanization drives. 36% of our population are still living in rural areas. So there is room for further urbanization. In the real estate sector, there is some sort of saturation. But then, even for the real estate sector, even if they cannot grow at the same breakneck speed as what happened in the past, there is still room for development. Or take automobiles as an example. For the US, there are roughly 800 cars for every 1,000 people. That's 2 to 3 cars per household. For us in China, we only have 100 or so cars per 1,000 people. That points to room for further development in China. The car market, the home market do well in times of economic boom. When the economy goes south, those markets, the automobile market and the home market also suffer. So there is still room for growth for our country. There is room for redoubling our capacity and growth by 2035. There is also significant room for growth in the green sector. Take the new energy vehicles for us. We export a lot of those new energy vehicles. We have seen trillions of dollars of economic output from a range of businesses like BYD and other green enterprises. Even Warren Buffett was buying shares in BYD. So this points to massive potential in our green sectors. So we still have advantage in this area. And then we also have great resiliency and wiggle room. Over the past 4 and 5 years, I was working in central China. The western part of China was still lagging behind, and the progress in the eastern parts slowed down. The central part of China showed great growth. take the period during the 13th five-year plan, Central China demonstrated great growth rate, 8.6%. In Shanxi province, the growth rate was 5.3%. In Jiangxi, the growth rate was 5%, ranked 4th in the country. In Hunan, the growth rate was 8%. In Hubei, the growth rate was 4.7%. Central China showed greater growth rates. So even if one part of our country is struggling, other parts of our country is doing well. This is a source of our strength. And then we're also pursuing innovation-driven growth. This will help us sustain this development at a steady growth. But it's unrealistic to expect double-digit economic growth every year down the road. We may be able to achieve that for one particular year, but we cannot have double-digit growth just every year down the road. We can still have sustained and steady economic growth for the next 10 years or so. Hong Kong has the support of its motherland. When the mainland prospers, Hong Kong will also do well. So let us all work together. Give full play to Hong Kong's edge in finance, trade, legal services, talent, and technology. And let us foster interaction between the mainland and Hong Kong. The mainland will be able to keep up its economic growth, and Hong Kong will also be able to sustain its economic growth. I am very confident in our country's future economic growth. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Xie. The delegation has addressed 3 very thoughtful questions for us, but due to time constraint, we will stop here for our Q&A session today. Please, everyone, a round of applause to thank our speakers today, Mr. Shen Chunyao and Mr. Xie. The 2 speakers will have their seat among the audience. Guests, this is the seminar organized by the Hong Kong SAR government on the 20th Party Congress spirit. The seminar concludes here. We thank you for attending the seminar. With the discussion today, I'm sure you now have a deeper understanding of the spirit of the 20th Party Congress. Let us give a round of applause to our speakers. We thank them for joining us for the seminar today. As for other guests, please wait for a bit. Please, another round of applause to thank the speakers.